Here's a question for you. How do we know if a public restroom is truly supporting good hand hygiene? Is it enough to track soap usage, paper towel consumption, and cleaning frequency, or should the industry be measuring something more meaningful? There's a newly released study. It's called the 2026 Clean Hands Index. It suggests the cleaning and facility management industry has been measuring restroom operations for years, but rarely measures whether people can actually complete a hygienic hand wash from start to finish. Well, to discuss this issue, we are joined today by Tim Cromley, founder of Clean Hands Certified and publisher of the Clean Hands Index, to discuss what the industry uncovered, why these findings matter to cleaning professionals, how they could reshape the way facilities think about hand washing performance. Tim, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. It's great to be back, and it's been a fun ride we've had so far, and I appreciate you being alongside it here.
Absolutely. I know we talked at ISSA show last year. We did a video program after that. So this is an update of sorts. But
Right.
I have to say something, Tim. You sent me a video of you going into a restroom and doing an audit or an inspection, and you were kind of sneaky. How do you do that? How do you sneak in and do these bathroom inspections?
Well, I don't like the word sneak. I actually go in and I wear my Meta Ray-Ban glasses. These glasses are video glasses, and I'm very careful with them. That's one thing to know for sure is I'm only around the sinks, and I don't do anything in the vicinity of people using facilities at all. And so I'm very careful. I'm very careful. Most of the time, you'll see even in my videos that there's no one else even in the restroom. So yeah, that's the Meta Ray-Ban glasses have been a great resource because I have to use both hands when I'm washing my hands. So that's a
I
great
mean,
question.
that makes sense. Yes. I noticed the video you sent me that showed you going in and checking out the sink. There was a set of legs in the background, but that person was just using the hand dryer or maybe the paper towel dispenser.
Right.
Nothing, nothing revealing there. I get the sensitivity though. People probably wonder, what are you doing in this
Right.
restroom?
And the numbers are pretty straightforward. I've washed 352 times in 240 locations. That includes like multiple washes. I washed my hands in all 15 men's restrooms at Disney World. I washed my hands in three locations at the Eiffel Tower, the basement, the first floor, and the top floor. And so certainly, yes, the numbers speak for themselves as far as the numbers of washes. I've literally washed my hands from the Golden Gate Bridge to Germany, and in doing so, I've looked for the answers to the question. Are we offering a hygienic hand washing in today's modern facilities?
All right, we're going to get into a few questions here to talk about what you've recently produced. And I have to say, your glasses look great on you. You should wear those all the time.
I hear different commentary on that, so maybe I'll put them on, and if I get tired of wearing them, I'll stop wearing them.
All
Actually,
right.
it's kind of a
You look
it's quite a bit
smart.
of
You look
reflection
smarter.
of it.
Yeah. Glasses make you look
Yeah.
smarter. All right, Tim, to the point here today. Now, you began the Clean Hands Index by personally evaluating public hand washing experiences, as you mentioned, and then expanded the research to more than 2,800 survey participants. Talk about that. What did the research ultimately reveal about the state of public hand washing? And there's a 7.1% finding. Talk about that.
Right. So the research included obviously my 352 hand washes in 240 locations, and really is across North America and into Europe. And so that's gone from July of 2025 through currently. And so that's the hand washing part. The other part though were the surveys. I did five surveys that included Jansan facility manager, facility owner survey. Actually, the ISSA team helped me with that. I appreciate that. And then we also did plumbing manufacturers, a survey with plumbing manufacturers, a survey on hand hygiene manufacturers as well, and distribution for both of those. And then also architects and designers. We did a survey that way, asking them specifics about designs of areas, and then a public survey, which actually was over 2,500 responses that we got in that survey. And again, when you let the public go with some of these questions, you realize real quickly that this matters to people. And so back to the 7.1% question. 7.1% of the places that I visited that I washed using my five criteria of a touch-free soap, touch-free faucet, warm water, a hygienic way to dry your hands, which is generally going to be a single-use towel, and then a hands-free exit. So those are my five criteria that I use. Basically, in the 352 washes, 7.1% of those washes met all five of the criteria. And so as I went into this process, I asked myself, what are we looking for? I mean, am I just looking like, hey, this is a great place to wash my hands? And the answer was no, it's not really what I'm looking for. Is it a great place to wash my hands? The simple question is, are we giving people an environment where they can actually complete a hygienic hand wash? And so that's the criteria that I've set and I've been using. And for decades we've been telling people wash your hands, but that question still needs to be answered. When you go into a public facility, are we giving people an environment where they can actually complete a hygienic hand wash? That's where that 7% is not a big number. And the truth is, I went to a lot of really nice places. A lot of airports are doing a really good job. I've evaluated a number of airports, and so there's a lot of 5 out of 5s. I actually think in reality, when we throw in coffee shops and tire stores and the different places that these customer facing places, I actually think the number is probably closer to around 4% of what would offer all of these. And so some places I've been in, I haven't necessarily audited them, but I can tell you that those are generally what I think the numbers are.
Tim, is there anyone else out there doing what you do?
I haven't found them, and frankly, in 352 hand washes, I've traveled over 51,000 miles doing this since a year ago, July. I've put 43,000 miles on airplanes, about 7,600 on cars, vehicles of all sorts, including Ubers, and then about 800 miles in trains. And so it's really to answer the question, are we offering hygienic hand washing in the facilities that we're giving, and or that we offer to people? And right now at 7.1%, I don't think the answer is yes.
Okay, your work will not be done anytime soon. I know, Tim, that everyone talks about it. Manufacturers know it's valuable. We, the pandemic brought awareness even more so
Right.
on just being clean people. So keep up the good work. That's great. Uh, Now you've described this hand washing measurement gap. As I mentioned in the outset, facilities measure soap and paper usage, cleaning frequency. They look at that, maintenance calls, complaints, but rarely measure whether someone can actually complete that hygienic hand wash, which you're looking for to improve on. Why has the complete hand washing experience been overlooked? What's the deal?
That's a great question. And again, I'm new to this industry, so I actually I've been wondering this. When you and I talked last time, I told you I've been wondering about this for 20 years. I've washed my hands on 6 continents, and I go into beautiful places, and they have all kinds of accoutrements of all sorts. And I realized, like, that was a horrible hand wash, and I had to grab the door to exit. I was putting my hand on this kind of green sticky soap thing, which is disgusting. And knowing where, whose hands were on the prior to mine, what they had just experienced. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a tough question because I don't know why we have decided on this. And what we've done is we've ended up training a public to just do what they have to do. We interviewed a girl in Louisville, and she said, we asked, well, would you like touch-free stuff? And she said, yeah, I would love it, but I just use my elbow. And I said, why do you use your elbow? And she said, well, I just try to get by. And unfortunately, we have a society that is trained to just get by. We don't have to do that anymore. We've come long past that. And so that's where I'm working. And so, it's interesting, from the cleaning and Jansen information we've gotten back, about 71% report that they track soap, 69% that they track paper, 60% are tracking cleaning frequencies, and they're tracking, service calls and complaints. Obviously, that's fantastic, but those are legitimate measurements. But there's something that I think even is more of a question, and that is, did the hand wash work? And I think you can those different things aren't going to go away. Soap and towels and things like that, they're not going to go away. But when a person walks into a restroom, they're not looking at a KPI of like soap or towels. They're looking for an overall experience. They're saying to themselves, did I get soap? Did I get the faucet to work? Was the water warm? Could I dry my hands hygienically? And then after that, could I leave without touching a door handle? And that's what we should be measuring, instead of like, hey, we put soap in and we clean the restroom at 10. I think it's something that we have to be really careful with. We need to concentrate more on the outcome, and not really just measuring inputs. And I think that's what we end up we get into. And I want to be really clear, especially with this industry. This audience is a what I think one of my emails to you, Jeff, I told you, I think this is the infantry, this audience. I mean, these are the people who go in every day, and they're the ones who make a difference to make this work. But I don't think this is a failure of cleaning professionals. This is actually like a custodian is responsible to refill the soap dispenser, but they probably never had any input on what kind of soap dispenser was put in there. They maybe have faucets working a certain way, but they never had any input on that, or they take extra time to clean a manual faucet. They can replenish towels, but again, they had no input. They had no input on a restroom exit. So I think the outcome crosses between cleaning, facilities, plumbing, architecture, manufacturing, and then really organizational leadership. And up until the point that the public experience is really what is a true hand wash. The industry is just, maintaining five separate components.
Well, let's talk about that true hand wash, the entire experience a bit, because the research that you sent suggests the public experiences hand washing as one system. But those that put those facilities together, do the maintenance, they manage the soap, the faucets, the water, the drying, the exits. You mentioned no touch exits. That's important as separate
Right.
components. What changes when we begin measuring the entire experience instead?
Right. It's the outcome of why the person is in there. They've used the restroom. Ideally, they'd like to leave with clean hands. And so what it does, what Clean Hand Certified actually does is establishes a common language, a standard that uses a common language. And that is the five criteria. If you are maintaining a facility and you can look and say all five of these criteria are being met, we're keeping things stocked, we're keeping things clean, we're doing our job as a cleaning organization. That's huge. That actually then you can say your part is done for the answer to that question. Are we giving people clean hands? Are they getting a hygienic wash when they wash in our facility? And unfortunately, the word compromise just kind of keeps tripping up over and over and over every time we talk about this. I mean, you and I, I think in our last interview, you talked about a place that you were in, and that one was out of soap, and you had to switch soap dispensers. And I understand that part, but was it a manual soap dispenser? Was it a way that if you stood there, you could complete a full system that had a standard wash where I didn't have to touch anything? And it's a real deal. It's not something that is people look at and they say, well, it's just a bunch of components. And the truth is, it is a bunch of components, but when they're treated separately, it'll always be just a bunch of components. And when you treat it as a system, I believe we can actually put it in a uniform way with common language, and people understand it. I can tell you, based on the research, that's what the public wants.
I hear you. It's very common to go to a restroom, multiple sinks, multiple faucets, put your hands down, nothing works. It's funny when there's other guys lined up and it's like, oh, this one works, come over here. I mean, that
Right,
happens. Yeah.
right. It's really a shame. The one video I sent you was the Apple store, and this we had this conversation on on some of our emails. But the truth was that that flagship Apple store in New York, and people can see that video of mine. It's what's crazy about that is when you walk into that cube on Fifth Avenue or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, this is crazy. And you walk down this spiral staircase, and as you walk down, you're like, oh my goodness, look at all this technology. This is amazing. And you could spend hours in this place, and then you go to this little corner that is like this forgotten, isolated part of the world, and you go in, and it is a 0 out of 5. You are grabbing fixtures. You are, I mean, everything's full contact, including they only have a hand dryer. And so then when you exit the door, you have to grab the door. There's no way to get out without grabbing the door. So unfortunately, this place has put everything into all these great ideas. And look, I like I say on the video, I like touching my iPhone, but I do not like touching a bathroom at Apple. And sadly, when I went to the Apple store at Union Square in San Francisco, it was virtually the same thing. They did have towels. That was the only improvement. So that was a 1 out of 5. So it's just not. It's just there. Here's the thing to remember about all this: Apple is not in the bathroom business, and nor should we assume that these restaurants are in the bathroom business. This guy makes cheeseburgers. This guy makes pancakes. This guy sells tires. Whatever it is, and we can't put that on people to say like, oh, you need to get into the bathroom business. No, they don't. That's what's so amazing about this organization, or your organization, Jeff, is you get to be in front of people who they're the ones who can solve this. And that's what's awesome about the ISSA crew.
Yes, the bathroom is the smallest room in the building and often the most important room when it's needed. And I agree. I love your thoughts there because if the Apple Store in New York City found a facility company, a building service contractor, or whoever it would take, maybe it's the landlord of that building, the owner of the building, fix this, make this exactly what Tim Cromley says it should be. And here's the money.
Well, actually, the interesting thing is, it's not what Tim Cromley says. It's really what the public says. The public is the public wants this, and you can see in the responses that I have in the index. 76% of people say they would trust a facility more, or a business more, if it had a clean hand certified. 75% of people say I will return to a place if I have a good hand washing experience. So the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, this has to be looked at as a signal to the public. And you can make that signal. That's what Clean Hand Certified is a signal to the public that says, look, we're doing what you want to do. And
I know, Tim. I know the public says that, but you're the spokesman.
right, well, someone had to be, and I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. But I know it's crazy, and I'm kind of run on a rabbit hole here, but I watched this Burger King commercial I see over and over and over, and like, oh, we changed everything, and we're doing it your way, and if your Whopper wasn't made right, we're going to redo it for you. Guess what? I was in a Burger King the other day, and I went in the bathroom, and I was so disgusted. Look, I want my Whopper right. I don't remember the last time I had a Whopper, but I would like my Whopper right, but I'd also like to be able to use the restroom if I needed to use the restroom. And this place was a disaster. You want to do something right for the people? Fix the bathrooms. That's the call for Burger King. How's that?
I hear you. I hear you. All right. A couple more questions. So the research shows that cleaning and facility professionals recognize the value of this, a better hand washing design. But let's talk about the money and the costs. Budget, maintenance, other practical barriers can make what we're talking about difficult to them. Does it always require to make a bathroom better, to make this all work? Are we talking major renovation? And where do they start? Do they start with the faucets?
Right.
Talk about that, Tim.
That's a really good question. And what happens there is when people stand back and they hear this argument, they're like, oh my goodness, man, this is going to require. Actually, I was on a call with a guy, and he said like, oh, we just did these retrofits, and the warm water was a real disaster, blah blah blah. But I would recommend this. Take my app and go and use the criteria, just the 5 criteria, and evaluate your restroom. And it's actually surprising. A lot of these are a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. Some of them are actually a 5 out of 5. And what you realize is, look, if I just get a really good soap contract, a soap dispenser contract here, in here, or if I get something as simple as like a step and pull on the door, I can overcome this door question. I joke, and you and I have talked about this. I joke about the step and pull actually being one of the best inventions in the last 30 years in public hand washing. It's a great idea, and there's a number of handles now that they have where you can use your arm. Um, and those are the solutions that you can identify and come up with. We just had a 9 location franchise here in northern Colorado, of Freddy's frozen custard and steak burger franchise, that they converted all 9 of their stores. They updated all 9 of their stores. And the truth is, when we went in and did the evaluation, there were 2 of them that were threes. They needed to switch out a faucet and a door handle, but most of them were just door handles. Some of them were actually fives. And so they actually are our first franchise that has come on and become Clean Hand certified. So it isn't a ton of money, but you're right. I mean, 71% of the people in this survey identified the budget constraints as prohibiting upgrades. And so I hear them on that. I do think, though, the signal that you make to the public when you make these upgrades is far more valuable than what that investment is that you're making.
I want to dig deeper into your app because Clean Hand Certified grew directly from these findings we're talking about, and it gives the public a way to recognize and to have a voice.
Right.
How does the process work? You have the app, you go into a restroom, you do your stuff. What happens with all that data? Talk about that.
Right. So the Clean Hands Certified app is really straightforward. It's meant to do a couple things. One is it's meant to give the public a voice. And so when it's got a simple way to use it, you just hit recommend a location. You can type in the name of the location. It also allows you to use your current location, so the address will fill in, and then you punch the 5 different things, and if they are existing, if it has touch-free soap, touch-free water, warm water, hygienic way to dry your hands, and or a hands-free exit, then you punch those check boxes, and then you submit the recommendation. Our team takes it from there. We contact the facility and say, one of your guests has recommended that you could possibly be a Clean Hand certified location. We give them the report of what has happened. Maybe you're a 4 out of 5. I mean, we've had some good 2 out of 5s that have been recommended as well. And these are places that people, live, work, learn, and play, and they want this right, because I have to go to the bathroom. We go to the bathroom 6 to 8 times a day as humans, and so if I'm somewhere, I'd like to be able to go in and do this right. So so that's the public side of the app, and then we follow up. We try to work with them to become Clean Hand certified. The cool part, one of the really cool parts, especially for your the people watching your podcast, is the supplier part is an incredible part of the system. We don't just say, hey, your place failed. We say we actually have a way for you to get to know suppliers who can help you get it right. So that's actually a real key for people, a facility, that understands their needs. That's great. But when you don't have a solution, things just kind of fall off. That's the beauty of what we're doing here with the suppliers. Suppliers can actually register on the app. They can do a 50-mile radius. They can do a 250-mile radius if they're a large organization, or they can be a national supplier. And so as you sign up as a supplier, you can do that. I would recommend 2 things from the audience. One is I would download the app. Every one of us use public facilities, or a high number of us use public facilities. So it's reasonable for you to do that. And you can recommend places. There's places to leave comments as well. We can share those with the facility owners as well, or the business owners. And then from a supplier standpoint, and that's what's so cool about the people who are cleaning companies, distributors, suppliers, manufacturers, facility professionals. You now have a way to provide your services. So I would suggest registering as a supplier with Clean Hands Certified, and in doing that, what you get is immediate information about places that are recommended. So we contact them and we say, hey, you've been recommended. We can recommend some suppliers, and depending on which categories you choose as a supplier of the 5 categories, they come up in your app. And so when you hit at the bottom, when you hit supplier, and you're registered as a supplier, you'll see the local areas within your market that are, or the local businesses within your market that are recommended for Clean Hands certified. And um, it's a great app. Another part of it is the intelligence that is available for manufacturers. There's an AI system that we use for identifying fixtures for manufacturers, and so it is real time information for manufacturers, so they know what fixtures are in what places. And so again, it's a deep app. There's a lot of information in there, and so yeah, it's really like no other. It's kind of funny. It's probably like me. I'm the no other guy running around washing my hands in video. The app has probably kind of got a little bit of that feel as well too. But it's deep and it gives a lot of value.
So if I'm a cleaning company and I have the app, I can see the buildings that I want to service that need my help the most based on
Absolutely,
that. That's it.
absolutely,
That's
and
pretty cool.
right. And the other part too, which I mean, I would just say unapologetically, if this is going to take the public. This is not me going around and like saying like, oh, we should do that, or me calling my cousin in Ohio and saying like, hey, you should go around and see if there's some places that need this. I mean, it's really all of us. This is the first time the public has ever had a voice in this conversation. Think about the times that you walked out of a restroom and you've been like, oh my goodness, that was disgusting, and then you went back and you ate your lunch or you did whatever, and you got over it. We don't have to get over it anymore. And I don't mean to sound like that, but the fact is, we can make a difference. The public and the voice that the public has in here is incredible because you now can make a difference. And what that means is that a facility that wants to do the right thing, they now can do the right thing. They have the ability to do that. A facility that didn't even know about it, which is a lot of these facilities. Like I had no clue, man. I make cheeseburgers. That guy, he suddenly knows, like, oh man, the people are disgusted by your bathroom, and that allows people to get better at what they're doing. So, and I think probably one of the best parts of the whole thing, just again, I think your audience can relate to this, but being a supplier, whether no matter what you're supplying, whether it's towels or soap, or even as a plumbing supplier, even things as simple as these door fixtures. I actually I think the person who takes the door fixture section and starts doing those, they're going to make a lot of money. Those suppliers are in every one of those cases. Everything that we do now, any of the proceeds that we make as Clean Hands certified, they're actually going to cleanhands.org. I have the URL, cleanhands.org, and basically in the world, we continue to watch places that are getting fresh water. These underdeveloped countries are getting fresh water, and having wells and different things dug. But what's missing, unfortunately, on a lot of those is the sanitation behind that, the ability for people to wash their hands. And so that's where cleanhands.org comes. We take a portion of our proceeds and go to different places in these underdeveloped areas. 800 UNICEF says 818 million kids go to school in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia without the ability to wash their hands, and we want to help change that. And so cleanhands.org is actually really kind of a passion project of mine as well too. But we'll start doing things at Clean Hands Certified, get cooking, and cleanhands.org is hopefully going to benefit from that.